Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sky Webb and I'm here to talk about a true crime story that I cannot get off my mind. But before I get started, I just want to put out a little disclaimer. There may no harm to any of the victims or the victims' families, and I wish everybody who was hurt within this story the utmost peace and solace, either in rest or in recovery. With that out of the way, happy True Crime Thursday. If you follow me on social media, you would know that yesterday was actually my 21st birthday, which is insane. I can't believe that I'm 21. Like, where has my life gone? In honor of it being my birthday, I thought I would post a birthday murder. So today we're going to be looking into the murder of Carla Stefarniak. Carla Stefarniak was born in Miami, Florida in 1989, and she had two brothers and one sister-in-law who she was super close with. Carla was an insurance agent and she was also a social media blogger. So she was like a lifestyle blogger and a travel blogger. And so she would film and vlog all of her trips around the world. And there were some pretty amazing trips. She went to like Mexico and Switzerland, Iceland, all these different places. And she would document all of that and post it online. And she was partially well known. People really liked to see her trips around the world, and people really liked to see her. People really liked her. So Carla decided that for her 36th birthday, she would go to Costa Rica. And so she decided she would bring one of her best friends, which was her sister-in-law. They thought they would just hang out on the beach and sip cocktails and go on little adventures, and it would be an awesome time. And it was, and she documented all of that. So in November 2008, Carla and her sister-in-law, whose name is April, they fly to Costa Rica. And when they arrive, they're just in love with it. They're posting photos all over Instagram and all over social media. Carla even says that she's going to be a future resident of Costa Rica because of how much she enjoyed it and just loved the environment. So the girls spend 6 days together in Costa Rica.
Second day, the hot springs.
But unfortunately, April had booked a different return flight home than what Carla had booked. So April was set to fly home on the 27th of November, and Carla was booked to fly home on the 28th of November. So Carla drives April to the airport on the 27th in their rental car. She says goodbye, they hug, whatever. April goes and catches the plane. So then Carla returns the rental car, catches an Uber, and drives to her new place where she's staying. It's this really incredible looking villa. She actually gets along with the Uber driver really well, and so instead of like calling up the next day to book an Uber, she decides to book the same Uber that she's in right now. So she arranges with him for him to pick her up the next morning at 8 a.m. to take her to the airport. So this Uber takes her to her new villa and she gets there around 5 p.m. So this villa was like almost a gated community, and it had a couple of different like villas around, and it had beautiful views. Like it looked really incredible, and it was actually an Airbnb. So when Carla arrived, she took some photos of where she was. She messaged her friends and said how beautiful it was, and she's so glad she's spending her last night there. She was super stoked about the fact that it was a gated community, which felt really safe. It also had security guards, and so she just felt comfortable being there by herself because it was the only night she spent in Costa Rica by herself. So at 7 p.m, Carla actually sends April a text message and just says how it's raining really heavy, but the power had gone out. Not long after that, she sends another message and is like, okay, the power's back on, but wow, that was really creepy, lol. Like, just being alone by yourself in a villa with heavy rain, like the noise of the rain hitting the windows and then the power being out. I can imagine being pretty creeped out in a country by yourself in the dark, you know what I mean? So then she starts texting some more friends. She's just chilling by herself, like it's her last night. She really doesn't have anything planned. She's just sitting there, so of course she's going to be on social media and texting. And she texts some of her friends saying that she's really thirsty and she needs a bottle of water, but the villa didn't have any water. And one of her friends actually texted her back and was like, don't go and try and find water, just stay where you are. Like, it's not that important. You really shouldn't be walking around by yourself. You don't really know where anything is. Like, just stay put, you know? But Carla decided that she would just go and ask one of the security guards, like, where can I get water? Is there anywhere around here I can buy some? Like, what's the go? So she goes and asks the security guard at around 8:50 p.m. So from here, Carla stops responding to all of her messages. She stops responding to family, to friends, full stop, stops messaging people, and her family got a little bit worried, but they basically summed it up to the weather, like the power had gone out, maybe her phone had died, or maybe there was no service because of the heavy rain. Like nothing to really stress about. It was just more like, oh, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder what's wrong. You know what I mean? So the next morning, the day that she's set to fly home, the 28th of November, that's actually her birthday. So it's her 36th birthday. She was on this trip for her birthday. Her family and her friends expect her to wake up and be posting on social media. She should be excited and posting all about it and how great the trip is. But her family is super surprised to see that she's completely absent from social media. Not just posting, but messaging and replying, responding, completely absent. So they're posting to her being like, we love you so much, happy birthday, I hope you had a great time, posting photos together, posting sweet messages, and they're expecting a response because she's always on social media. That's half of her job, and she's not answering anyone.
Happy birthday, texting her, calling her, and she wouldn't answer.
So her dad sends her a text, and I'm gonna put in a clip of him because I think he's just so incredibly sweet. Like, I feel like you guys need to see how beautiful this man is, you know?
I text her, hi, how are you? Congratulations for your birthday. God bless you. Please, talk to me. She never answered me.
So Carla's friend Laura is supposed to pick her up from the airport when she arrives home, but Laura is getting a little bit nervous now because Carla hasn't messaged her. So she's messaging her like, am I still picking you up? Are you good? Are you on the flight? What time do you get in? Like, just double checking everything, and she's getting a little bit nervous because she's not getting a response. So she decides to go anyway, just in case something had happened to her phone. Like, she's assuming she's just gonna be on the plane. She's just gonna rock up and have some sort of excuse as to why she wasn't answering anybody. So Laura goes anyway, and Carla's not on the flight. She doesn't get off the plane. So Laura goes and talks to the flight attendants and the airline, and she says, look, I know this is weird. I'm really sorry. I just need to know if my friend was on this flight or not. No one's heard from her. We're really worried. Please just tell me, like, did I miss her? Like, what is going on? And they were like, no, she was never on this plane. She was never on this flight. She didn't get on. So at this point, Carla hasn't been seen or heard from in over 21 hours. So now her family is like really starting to freak out because there is no reason that she shouldn't have been on this plane. So they immediately call the police in both Fort Lauderdale and Costa Rica. Fort Lauderdale is where she was supposed to be arriving home, just so you know. But because Carla is over the age of 18, obviously she turned 36 that day, there's not a lot they can do. To declare someone a missing person usually is 24 hours if they're under 18, but because she was older, it had to be bumped up to 48 hours, and obviously it had only been 21 around this point. But this didn't stop her family and her friends, and I'm super grateful that it didn't. I just think it's so important that they went out and did this by themselves regardless of what help police were giving them. So her family and friends were posting all over social media, trying to raise awareness about the fact that she was missing. In their eyes, she was missing. So they were putting up missing person posters saying that this is where she was staying, this is the last time they heard from her, this is what she looks like. If anyone has any information, please let us know. Like, just trying to spread the word. So within the next few days, Carla's dad, brother, and friend is in Costa Rica, and they're ready to do whatever they can to find her. So on the 1st of December, Carla's brother visits the villas where she was staying, and he actually said that the owners were really cooperative and helpful, which he was super grateful for. They let him look through the villa that she stayed in that night, and he said that it was really tidy, clean, nothing alarming at all. The owners then inform him that the security guard working on that night, the 27th and the 28th, said that he actually saw Carla leave and get into a car at around 5 a.m. He claimed she put her luggage into the back of this car. It was a dark car, like a grey or a blue or a black, and they just left with no dramas. So now Carla's family, taking things into their own hands, which again I am so incredibly in awe of, they decided that they would go and track down this Uber driver. So they tracked down the Uber driver, and they're actually able to go through Uber's records to see that he wasn't there at 5 a.m. He did make the trip to Carla's villa, but he arrived at 8 a.m. like they had arranged, and he said that he actually waited for her, but she never showed up. He waited so long that one of the guards actually came out and said, she's not here, she's already left. So the Uber went about his day. So at this point, the police still hadn't stepped in, and Carla's family were just pushing so hard. They had to work so hard in order to get some sort of assistance from police in this case. It was ridiculous. After a lot of pleading and begging and groveling, they were finally able to actually get the FBI to step in to help the Costa Rican police. Because if you know, Costa Rican police aren't exactly the best. They don't really have the best funding or the best, they're a little bit corrupt. They can be corrupt sometimes. And they felt like this case was just going to be swept under the rug because no one really cares about a missing girl in Costa Rica, but her family fucking cared, and so they pushed and pushed and pushed, and now the FBI were able to assist them. So they went through her phone and her banking, and they were able to determine pretty quickly that Carla had never left the villa. So they start interviewing people who worked at the villa, and they interview the cleaning lady who cleaned Carla's room the morning after she was supposed to have left. And the cleaning lady said that it was so clean and tidy, like to an impeccable standard, that she walked in, changed the towels, and then basically walked out. The bed was already made, everything was like tip-top shape. So she took whatever she had to take to like swap over for the next people, and they literally put people in there straight away. There was nothing out of order at all, which is super weird because had she have slept in there and used the room, they obviously would have had to clean up. So now her family thought that she had been kidnapped, and so they started posting that all over social media. On the 3rd of December, they finally got police out to Carla's villa, and they were able to do a proper forensic search of this villa. Finally. It had already been 6 days since she disappeared, and people had already stayed in the room since she disappeared, so it definitely made it harder than what it would have been if they had just gone straight away. But they brought along with them dogs who were trained to smell blood. They're trained to sniff out blood, and they found an abundance of blood in this villa. So now everyone's freaking out. Her family is freaking out because they know that there's blood in this room, which means something has happened, but they don't know what has happened. And they also know that someone has gone to a great deal of effort to actually clean it up and hide it. So that means it's something sinister that has happened in this room. Only a couple of hours after this, they make a big discovery. They find a dead body about 1,000 feet away from the villa. The body was female, half naked, and wrapped in plastic. So basically her family could either wait days for the forensic tests to be done in order to find out whether or not it was Carla, or they could go down to the morgue and they could ID her themselves. And so they decided that they needed to ID her. They couldn't wait days.
I stand in the left corner of the table and I talk to her. I say there, I'm here. We always love you. Please fly. Now this plane is not for you.
It was Carla. Carla had suffered blunt force trauma to the head, and she had been cut multiple times across the face, neck and arms by a knife, and she had 7 stab wounds. Her jaw had been dislocated, 2 vertebrae in her neck had been fractured, and the police say that the attacker's knife had actually broken because of the force at which they stabbed her. Police also suspected that she had been sexually assaulted, and they sent semen to forensics to determine whose it was. And on the same day that her body was found, they actually arrested someone, which is super quick. They arrested the security guard who was working the night Carla stayed at the villas. He was a 32-year-old immigrant from a country that I can't pronounce, and he was actually in Costa Rica illegally. This meant police had to arrest him like ASAP, because had he have been guilty, he could have basically fled the country without any real issue, and there's nothing they would have been able to do. So that's why they arrested him so fast, because there was just like a hint of suspicion, and they wanted to get him before he could get away in case he did have something to do with the murder. So the guard both worked and lived at these villas, and his room was right next door to Carla's. He's also the same guard that claimed that Carla left at 5 a.m. when she very clearly didn't. So both Carla's family and the police were super suspicious of this man. They both undoubtedly believed that he had something to do with it, but they also believed that he wasn't the only one. So Carla was a strong woman. She trained in the gym. She was very muscular. She had a muscular build and she was very fit. And they thought that she put up a good fight for her life. And there was, evidence around her body to demonstrate the same thing, that she had fought very hard for her life. And they thought that, yes, this man's a security guard and he's bigger than her and possibly stronger than her, but there's no way he would have been able to do that much damage to her when she was protecting herself. They also felt like it was impossible for this one man to carry or drag Carla's body all the way from the villa to where the body was found, because she was so strong and muscular and bigger and taller and heavy, and there's no way that he could have carried her that far by himself. Still had time to go back and completely clean the villa, like scrub the floors, scrub the walls, tidy the beds, completely clean the villa after murdering her, dragging her body down there, getting rid of her belongings. It just didn't seem likely that he had enough time to do all of that all by himself.
Person to person, impossible. Dominate Carla. Impossible. I am sure that was more than one people. Imagine 200 pounds in the hill with a lot of trees, stuff like that. One person? No.
He had to wrap her body up in plastic, he had to gather her belongings, pack her luggage, he had to pick up and dispose of all the blood-covered items in the room, and it just didn't seem possible to do all of that from the time that she stopped messaging everybody to the time that the cleaning lady went in the morning. So they suspected that there was at least 3 to 4 people involved in this murder.
2? No. At least 3 or 4.
Now this guard that had been arrested, he wouldn't talk to police for quite a while. He was completely uncooperative, completely stone-faced, just sat there and didn't say a word. And for whatever reason, and I suspect it would be fear out of what would happen to him, he had a change of heart and he started talking. He admitted that he did know about Carla's murder, but that he didn't participate in it. And he claimed that within these villas, they participate in sex acts, group sex, use of drugs, smoking weed, using cocaine, methamphetamine, just a bunch of things. He claims that Carla was forced into having sex and then tried to be persuaded into having group sex at knife point, so not really persuaded, forced I suppose, but they tried to talk her into it, and then using drugs. And this is all the things that the security guard claims, not what I'm claiming. Security guard claimed it. So at this point, the security guard was still in custody, but he hadn't been formally charged for her murder, and her family felt like the murderers were still out there. They didn't know who these other men were who either did it, like the security guard claims, and he had nothing to do with it, or who helped him do it. So the family actually filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Airbnb, claiming that the company could have done a lot more to keep its guests safe, which absolutely it could have. They should not have had an illegal man working as a security guard in an Airbnb. So the security guard maintained his innocence to the media and the police and everybody else, but it was alleged that he had actually broken down and confessed to murdering Carla to his wife. And his wife called up her mum and cried to her, confessing that my husband killed this girl for no fucking reason. And the mother of the wife, who was on the phone, she had a cleaning lady cleaning as she was on the phone, and this cleaning lady actually overheard this confession, and she went to the police to claim that he confessed. So I'm not sure at what point he was actually formally charged with the murder. A lot of the information I looked through was in a different language and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But in 2020, this year, January, he went to trial. He was there for second-degree murder of Carla Stefarniak, which I don't understand why it was second degree. There was 14 witnesses set to testify, and one of those witnesses was actually Carla's dad, and he was hoping to change the charge from second-degree murder to first-degree murder. In Costa Rica, the highest punishment for second-degree murder is actually only 16 years in prison, which is not a lot of time, whereas for first-degree murder it's 66. So he was really hoping it would be bumped up to first-degree murder so that he could spend an adequate amount of time in prison for murdering his daughter. But I don't know whether that has happened or not because the trial hasn't ended yet, so we will have to wait and see how it plays out. Hopefully it does get bumped up to first-degree murder so that he's punished accordingly, because obviously what he did is disgusting and it's just heartbreaking on her birthday. It's horrible. So that is the story of Carla Stefarniak. I'm really sorry that the ending was a bit inconclusive as it's still going on, but I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. So let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments down below. I want to know what you guys think about the guard's story. Do you think there's some truth to it, that this is a common theme for these villas where they were participating in group sex and drug use and all of those things? Do you think that he was telling the truth about not participating in it but knowing about it? And if so, do you think that's any better, or do you think it's just as bad? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, or you can head over to my Facebook, which is skyweb with 3 B's, and let me know there. I would love to hear your opinions. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, I would really appreciate it, and be sure to subscribe so that you can see all my new videos I post every single Thursday all about true crime, and I'd love to have you a part of it. Make sure you guys are being safe out there. Do not book separate flights from your friends, just book the same flights. Don't stay in shady sex and drug villas, and most importantly, never spend your birthday alone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe. Goodbye.